with one pledge to the god of war himself, Tanjiro Kamado was given the power, the strength, the durability, and the prosperity to actually succeed in protecting the one he loves, protecting his little sister at all costs from a world that is one of the most unforgiving ever. But will he be able to use this strength? Will he be able to use this weapon? Will he be able to use this power, make it his own, and truly be able to be a great demon slayer? Well, that's what we're about to find out in What If Tanjiro Had Chaos Breathing. Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls Golden What If, whatever you want to call me. And I am back. I'm back, finally, with a Tanjiro What If. I've been enjoying Naofumi What Ifs. Same thing with JJK. I've been doing a lot of Naofumi stuff. I've been loving Naofumi. I still love doing Naofumi stuff. So you'll be seeing a lot of Shield Hero stuff no matter what. But I gotta go back to my roots a little bit. And come back to What If Tanjiro. And I'm sure a lot of you have been missing it. I've been getting suggestions to do Tanjiro. People have been saying, like, you don't do Tanjiro anymore. So trust me, I still want to do Demon Slayer What Ifs, and we're back with them. Trust. Okay, but with that said, I'm not going to waste any more of your time because frankly, it is late as heck for me. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time or my time. And we're going to get right into the What If. Let's get it. Tanjiro Kamado. A young boy that was loved by everybody. His family, villages, everywhere he went, this boy was loved. He was so calm, peaceful. He would help everybody, not even ask for one thing. Of course, they would gift him things here and there, but Tanjiro was a simple person. He just wanted to see his family smile. His little sister, his other sister, his brother, anybody that is in his family. He wanted to just see them smile and be happy, including his mother. That's why he decided to sell the charcoal the day he did. The day, well, almost before New Year's Eve, he wanted to have and make sure that his family would have an amazing New Year's. He went down to the village and did just that, selling the charcoal but also helping everybody around. But when he was going to head back up the mountain, a man told him that he shouldn't go up on his own, not at night, that demons roam during the night and it is too dangerous. So Tanjiro listened to this man, not thinking much of the remark, but he would realize that this would be very true very quickly. He fell asleep that night, woke up in the morning, and he had a massive headache. This feeling of uneasiness came over him, and he began heading up the mountain once again. But he can smell something. The smell of blood. He was frightful. What is that feeling? What is that smell? He smells this so-called blood, and, well, he sees that at his home, everybody is dead. Tanjiro begins to panic and runs over to his sisters, his brother, his mother. They're all dead, except for one. His sister by the name of Nezuko still has a faint heartbeat. He picks her up and begins running as fast as possible through the snow. But Nezuko gets back up. Nezuko pushes them both off the mountain and they land in the snow, and Nezuko begins to try and bite him. He's not sure why. Why are you doing this, Nezuko? She begins to keep trying over and over again, but Tanjiro gets her off of him, putting something in her mouth, his little hatchet, making it so Nezuko can't bite him, but she keeps trying. That's until someone appears, grabbing Nezuko, pulling her away, and keeping her where she is, putting her instantly to sleep. Tanjiro begs the man, please do not hurt my sister. She's my sister, you can't. But the man responds, I'm not here to hurt your sister, my boy. I know of you. You seem interesting. Something tragic just happened to you. And you want to defend your sister with your life, correct? Tanjiro looks up to see the man, and he just looks like any ordinary man, but he can feel something. Tanjiro can smell the man's aroma of some sorts. It's this killing aroma. Not only that, it seems unholy, like he's some sort of god. The man introduces himself, calling himself Ares, the god of war. And he begins explaining to Tanjiro that he can give him the means to save his sister. He can even make it so his sister doesn't even act like other demons, and make it so that she is not some wild animal like the others. The god of war explains that everything, though, comes at a price. Whatever the price is, I don't care. What is the price? Tanjiro tells that man that he doesn't care. And Ares smiles and says that the price is simple. A pledge to himself. To be a vessel for Ares, or to be a true, loyal servant. Tanjiro is confused by this, but accepts, saying that he'll do anything, a loyal servant, whatever. But what does that even entail? But Ares says that it really doesn't entail much. He'll give him the power to actually kill the person that made him feel this way. He just wants to be entertained. Ares will give him the way of doing such a thing, and the gods will be watching. Just remember, after this is over, well, the soul of Tanjiro Kamado is binded to Ares forever. At least until his death. Ares disappears and leaves these odd-looking weapons in his wake. He walks over. Tanjiro walks over, begins to open this odd box, and these weapons attach to him. Chains wrap around his arms and begin to sear him. He fights through the pain, looking at Nezuko as he grips these blades of chaos. He looks at them in fear, in a way, and the pain from all the singeing of his arms. He passes out right by Nezuko. Someone else approaches as this occurs, and he takes both of them away. When he awakens once again, Tanjiro looks around, looking for his sister. His sister currently tied to a pole, and well, that's because they realized that she was no human anymore. She was a demon. Just as he wakes up, he can feel the blade still attached to him, and someone talks. The master of all the demon slayers, the master of even the Hashira, begins to speak to Tanjiro. You know, those chains around your arms don't look very comfortable. I tried to take them off, but it seems like they're binded, at least for now. I know. I made a deal with someone. He said he can give me the power to protect my sister, no matter what. And that's what happened. I didn't have another choice. Yes, I did assume such a drastic action would occur. But, I mean, those are our gods for you, huh? Very interesting ones. They're kind of the reason why we're even in this predicament. But maybe you're here for a reason, Mr. Tanjiro. You know my name? Yeah, of course. I've heard of you. I mean, word gets around quickly. The wielder of the blades of chaos. Tanjiro looks at his arms once again and realizes that these must be those blades. He grips them and fire begins to erupt from the blades, but then dissolves immediately. His chains immediately start turning into a black color, and so does his blade. Everybody, well, the Hashira and even the master of all the Hashira are watching this and are completely shocked. A black color just changed? How is that even possible? It's not like it's Nichiren. They inspect the metal and they actually do believe it to be Nichiren, but it's different. It's older, more serrated, it's finer. It's everything a Nichiren blade would want to be, but even stronger. Whoever gave him this, the god of war, Ares, whatever god did, well, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were giving this boy. Tanjiro stands up and he asks for his sister to be unchained, but the Hashira say that they cannot do that. His sister is only alive because they wanted him to say his final goodbyes. And he asks what the hell are they talking about, and they say that she's a demon, and a demon must be killed. As Tanjiro hears this, he cuts her free himself, basically showing off the blades of chaos and points it at one of them. One of them that is speaking so, well, angrily at Tanjiro as if he did something wrong. One that is known as the Wind Hashira. The Wind Hashira steps up to Tanjiro and says that he doesn't know who he's messing with. He doesn't know who, or he doesn't care who Tanjiro is, the predecessor to the god of war, or the predecessor to Zeus himself. He doesn't care who it is. Hades, well, Zeus, Ares, Medusa. He doesn't give one F. He doesn't care who Tanjiro is or what he thinks he is. But his sister needs to die because she is a demon. The Wind Hashira tries to strike Tanjiro, but Tanjiro blocks it with the blades of chaos. He doesn't have full grasp over this weapon, but he can feel that it has so much control. It feels like it's an extension of himself. It's as if he was throwing punches with his arms. He had that much control. He begins to swing these blades like crazy, forcing all the Hashira to back up briefly. Tanjiro tells them all to not touch his sister, and that whoever it was, Ares or whatever his name was, he doesn't even really remember much, explaining that he did call himself the god of war, and all the Hashira nod, confirming the god that gave him these weapons. And he says that he told Tanjiro that he gave Nezuko the will to not be like a demon, that she might technically be one, but she won't act like one. As he says this, Nezuko begins to awaken, and she walks up to Tanjiro and just sits down. She doesn't do anything. She's acting so calm. Obviously, there's sunlight outside, so she personally cannot go out. So she sits down next to him, but a little further back in the shade. They're all shocked to see this, and he sits down with Nezuko, patting her on the head, and Nezuko looks at his arms and begins to touch them, looking at all the seared scars that are there, and she's kind of worried, and she's sad that her brother actually is hurt that bad, but Tanjiro shakes his head, saying he's fine. Tomioka, the one that actually took Tanjiro over to the Hashira mansion, says that if truly the god of war, Ares, swore that his sister would act like a human, then they have no reason to kill the sister. And the master of the Hashira even agrees with this, even with all the backlash from the other Hashira, and Tanjiro is happy to hear this, and begins to ask what he needs to do. That whoever turned his sister into a demon will feel his wrath. The blades of chaos are feeding off his inner emotions. The calm and relaxed Tanjiro, the one that's kind, is slowly but surely getting buried away, at least when these emotions occur, and he says that he wants to find whoever this is and kill him himself. And they all say that the only real person that can force, well, you could say, a change to a demon by themselves is the one by the name of Muzan Kibutsuchi. This man is the king of pop. I mean, the king of all the demons. And he needs to be taken very seriously. And Tanjiro's not even technically a demon slayer yet. Tanjiro asks if that's the next step, and they say yes, that the next step is for him to become a demon slayer. Good. Okay, what do I gotta do now? When's the next demon slayer enrollment? They begin to say that it's not for a little bit, maybe 2 years from now, that he needs to train anyways, and that his sister will be safe. He'll have a room here, and he can even train with some various people, some people that are training to be demon slayers as well, some very strong in their own right. Tanjiro nods and says that he'll begin the training, that he doesn't care who trains him, he just needs proper training. And not many people stand up to do so, but Shinobu decides that she will take on the task, that his brute strength style may not fit her completely, but frankly, with Kanao there, she should be able to tame him a little bit. But just as she says this, Rengoku steps up. The flame Hashira begins to say that, well, he loves the audacity of the kid and he wants to chime in on this. He wants to help train Tanjiro because frankly his somewhat unique style of fighting is very similar to Rengoku's, or at least in terms of the burning flame of passion and chaos, he calls it, inside of him. So Rengoku and Shinobu will take basically duo mentorship roles to train Tanjiro over the next year to 2 years. This involves training with Kanao, a student of Shinobu, and Shinobu herself, making Tanjiro's movement a lot more graceful of some sorts. He begins to learn how to use concentration breathing, but his breathing style is a little different. It involves something he calls chaos breathing. Various different attacks are based upon the Mount Olympus, or the gods of Olympus. He has just different levels, you could say, of attacks, and various other things like that. He even has his own rage boost. It seems like the Blades of Chaos ingrain and also emerge the rage that he feels. He may be a nice person, but frankly, when things start to boil up inside, he begins to ascend, increasing his speed, strength, and various other things like that. He's learned various techniques based on his chaos breathing, and they're all very, very useful. One of them including him making a cyclone of chaos, him spinning, rapidly swinging his blades, surrounding his enemies multiple times, slicing them into pieces. He's tried this on dummies as well, and it's worked beautifully. He also has various other ideas or various other breathing styles that involve different gods. The spirit of Hercules, something that he is slow but powerful, a multi-hit combo with an explosive finish that launches enemies into the air, and he slams them back down, landing his blades on both shoulders as he basically crosses an X across their body and slices from the neck down to the torso on both sides. With various moves, tons and tons of styles ranging from one to another, he has so many different styles. But his favorite one involves his Spartan Rage. He adds Spartan Rage as this boost. It's his 5th breathing style, or one of his top breathing styles that he's just learned how to channel, and this Spartan Rage just unleashes a whole new plane of fighting for his other styles. His other combo-like moves has basically thrived off of the Spartan's rage, the rage that he can feel from the Blades of Chaos. And the more and more he trains, his blades turn from this dull black color, and it begins to get in line with this magma. It looks like the black blades are turning into this magma-like flame, at least coursing through it like some blood, like your veins itself. It's as if it's its own living entity. Tanjiro, after 2 years of training, feels that he is ready for the final selection, and when he heads off with Kanao, Aoi, and anybody else who's actually heading off, they begin speaking about him. Speaking about how this boy has accelerated his training, has become even stronger than arguably some of the Hashira. This boy, no, not a boy, he's a man. He might even be the one to, in the future, defeat Muzan. He arrives at the final selection, a selection that will involve them living in a week, or for a week, by themselves in a forest. And when they arrive in said forest, they begin to get all explained, blah blah blah. The two twins explain that, or all the rules that are inside. Tanjiro walks in and gets jumped by two demons, immediately slicing their heads off with his two chaos blades. And this feels easy, he begins to think. He begins to get frustrated hearing the screams of other people. He decides he'll go help. He's not, well, a horrible person. His Spartan rage may lead him to be more brutal and more passionate, but Tanjiro is still that loving person he was, so he doesn't want to see other demon slayers get hurt by any means. He goes charging through said forest, begins slicing and dicing every single demon he sees. The spirit of Hercules, the valor of him, the Olympic ascension, every single power he holds, every idea that he had, every chaos breathing style he's come up with, he invokes, all involving the people or the gods of Olympus. He defeats every last demon he sees, and every last, whimper he heard throughout the entire forest, he handled and took care of. He made sure everybody was safe and headed to the top of the mountain until he found one boy running away, crying, hoping for someone to save him. Tanjiro drops in front of the demon. The demon is giant, other known as the Hand Demon, begins to mock Tanjiro.
Oh, looks like you are a little hurt there, boy. Don't worry, I'll put you out of your misery.
Tanjiro smirks, stabbing the demon in the lower part of his body, and the demon mocks him for this. But that's not what Tanjiro wanted to do. He stabs him, lodging the blades of chaos within him, and it begins to scorch him. The demon begins to panic and cry out in pain. Tanjiro runs backwards, unraveling the chains a little bit, and he begins to swing the demon over and over and over and over again, launching him into the sky. Right when he launches him into the sky, all you can hear is one thing, one large shout. Tanjiro screams and says, "Chaos breathing, second form, bravery of Hercules." He comes spiraling down, airborne, a powerful strike overhead attack that slices through the head of the Hand Demon, pile driving him back into the ground. The Hand Demon begins to shed tears, as if he's sad that he's going to die, but this actually frustrates Tanjiro. The rage that he's feeling at the moment makes him just walk away as he picks up the boy that was in need of help. Tanjiro begins to think that he doesn't deserve to have tears in his eyes, that he doesn't deserve the help, that he just sent him to hell, and frankly, he hopes Hades has his way with that damn monster. Tanjiro begins to calm down and realizes what he's even thinking, and shakes his head, thinking that Nezuko would never want him to think in such a way, but these blades are making him feel vengeful. He wants to kill the person that did this to his poor sister, his whole family. He brings the boy to the top of the mountain, helping him out, and he profusely thanks Tanjiro, thanking him so much. Tanjiro shakes his head and says it's fine, but he needs to take this seriously. He needs to train hard and become the best demon slayer he possibly can, and there is no limit to the training he needs. He agrees, saying that he'll get right on that, he promises, and Tanjiro looks around, and it seems like everybody that went to the final selection is alive. Tanjiro single-handedly destroyed the entire forest. He even looks around to see that he destroyed about half of the trees that are there. He was a little reckless, he thinks. He needs to be more careful. He knows that a place like this was easy to basically work around. It's an open environment, and cutting down some trees wouldn't matter too much. But what happens when he fights in a village? He needs to keep this in mind, and that's what he'll do. He'll keep it in mind and make sure he can keep himself in check, even when the Spartans' rage and the rage from the blades of chaos, the wielders of it before, begins to course within him. The rage that begins to course through his body, he'll make sure that it's tame next time. So the end of the final selection is upon them. Tanjiro then immediately leaves after basically finishing up the final selection, not needing this so-called Nichirin weapon. He already has one himself, but he does decide to wait for his other fellow demon slayers, at least that being Kanao, Aoi, and whoever else went. He waits for them and walks with them, and well, Aoi even questions why he didn't at least just choose an ore, and maybe he could get those chains off of him, but he begins to explain that he's tried a lot. These chains aren't coming off, and frankly it seems like these scars are permanent, but it's a small price to pay to make sure that his sister is safe. She actually does have very much respect for this. She's not much of a fighter herself. She believes that she just got through this based on luck. Obviously because of Tanjiro, the fact that Tanjiro just eliminated everybody, or all the demons more or less, and Kanao on the other hand just eased by pretty easily. I mean, she's extremely strong, and any demon that did come across her was swiftly decapitated, but anyways, she would be able to pass with relative ease, even if Tanjiro didn't completely and utterly destroy almost every single demon. They arrive back at the Hashira mansion, and they begin speaking about, well, missions. Tanjiro not knowing exactly what to do, but Rengoku says that he needs to find a certain mission for him to go accompany himself on. So they do send him to this odd city of some sorts, a city that really is known for never sleeping. So he arrives at this city with a box on his back, Nezuko included with him. He begins walking around the city until he senses a demon. He smells him and begins running over to that direction, dropping his box because he realizes something. His rage begins to build up once again, and when he reaches the person, he puts his blades in his side satchels and grabs the arm of that said person, turning him around, and it's the same person that killed his family. Muzan, Kibutsuchi, and Tanjiro Kamado stand face to face. Muzan acts like nothing even is happening, but Tanjiro stares daggers into the man and realizes he cannot act on what he wants, but he begins to speak cryptically, you could say, saying that punishment will always come about no matter where you run and no matter where you hide. Muzan is pissed to hear this. A young boy like Tanjiro can't be speaking to the emperor or the king of all the demons like this, and he'll never let him put this down. Tanjiro then leaves, telling the man that he wishes him the best of luck, at least on his journeys throughout life, or at least what is left of it. Tanjiro leaves as the wife of the man begins to ask about what was that all about, but Muzan just says that nothing, everything's fine. He stares at Tanjiro's arms, wrapped in chains, these black chains, and he is the wielder of the blades of chaos. This boils the skin of Muzan and frankly worries him. This is the boy. This is the man that Ares chose to defeat him? Is this some game that they're playing? Muzan leaves as Tanjiro goes back to pick up his box with Nezuko, apologizing to her for doing such a thing. Someone then appears near him, and he puts one of the blades of chaos right to his neck. And a man, or the boy, actually raises his hands up, saying that he might be a demon, but he promises he's not a threat. Tanjiro then lowers his blade and says he can tell that, but what does he want? and his name, Yushiro. Yushiro begins to explain that a lady by the name of Tamaya wants to speak with Tanjiro as soon as possible. Tanjiro says that he better not be setting something up, because once he figures out if he is setting something up, well, he'll kill him. In which Yushiro says that he has none of the sort and brings him to Lady Tamaya. When they arrive, Lady Tamaya begins to explain everything that she's heard about Tanjiro, that he is the wielder of the Blades of Chaos. The god of war, more or less, chose him to be a disciple in a way. Lady Tamaya gets to the point pretty quickly after Tanjiro urges her to do so, and she explains that she wants Muzan dead as much as he does, in which he disagrees, that she didn't watch his family die when he could have prevented it, but Lady Tamaya says that she's gone through her own torment from that man, so to trust her, she does want him dead just as much. And she even gives him the plan to do so, and even giving him a way to cure his sister, at least in the long term. Nothing is going to be, you could say, proficient or immediate, but it will happen. She gives him a needle and to basically take a vial of blood from these top level demons, in which Tanjiro nods, saying that he'll get right on that, and it should be easy enough. He's been training a good little bit, and with the Blades of Chaos accelerating with his own strength, this should be quick and easy. She smiles and says that she's glad to hear this, as a ball goes flying through her building. Before it can hit Lady Tamaya, though, Tanjiro slices it in half, disintegrating it, and walks out of the building, telling the two people that he begins to smell that they have a chance to leave now, or else. He has to leave. The Hashira mansion is actually calling to him, and he's sure that they want him back pretty soon. They both begin to say that he's not leaving, well, alive. In which the lady demon, or the woman demon, begins to kick a bunch of these red-like dodgeballs at him, trying to hit him, but every single one gets sliced in half. Tanjiro wraps his blade, or the chain of the blade, around the woman, dragging her close and putting the blade to her neck. The other man that's in the trees begins to try and use his blood, or his demon blood art, as a way to move Tanjiro out of the way, but even he cannot keep up, not even close. He throws the woman into the sky, immediately jumping back toward her and slamming his blades into her neck and slamming her disintegrating body to the ground. He extends his other blade on the left side of him, grabbing the other man out of the tree, dragging him immediately, beginning to slam him back and forth, making a bit of a mess, and Lady Tamaya asks him to not do so, and he apologizes that he should just finish this up quickly. He walks over to the man, digging the blade into his neck and stepping on the blade, chopping his neck off as well. He barely even used his concentration breathing, and frankly, it was easy, at least to the level of the demons he's been facing. He hasn't even faced something near a Hashira level, and frankly, not even close. He begins to leave after he obviously takes the blood from those demons, but later Tamaya explains that that blood won't be that helpful, in which Tanjiro nods and says that he's sure he'll get a stronger mission coming up, and maybe he can get the blood of the 12 Kizuki. He leaves with Nezuko, in which Lady Tamaya says that she could stay here with them, but he explains that he can just bring her to the Hashira mansion, and with these harder missions, he probably will leave her there. In which she kind of argues by not really speaking, but kind of hitting him on the shoulder, and Tanjiro shrugs, saying that I guess she doesn't want to be left out of the action. He leaves back to the Hashira mansion, and when he arrives, he begins speaking with the Hashira, but more specifically Shinobu and Rengoku, in which they talk about this forest of some sorts people are going in but not coming out. They have other demon slayers there at the moment, but it seems like they are kind of falling short, you could say. And you want me to go?
Yes, precisely. Actually, I think this would be good training for you, Tanjiro.
Alright, why not? I'll go ahead and do that. But Nezuko wants to go with me, so unfortunately I can't leave her here. How dangerous is it? Can you give me an estimate? Shinobu explains that they're not really sure because the other demon slayers that are going in, well, they're not the strongest themselves, but they are getting defeated in abundance. So Tanjiro heads up with Nezuko on his back, and when he arrives at the mountain, he sees two people. It's some yellow-haired kid and a kid in a boar mask who are arguing with each other. He walks up to them and says if they're just going to argue, they should just leave. It's not safe here anyways, and he's come to handle this whole ordeal. In which the kid in the boar mask basically yells at him, asking what his name is, and he begins to say that his name is Tanjiro Kamado. But the boy continues to say his name completely wrong.
Kamado! Yo, I am Inosuke.
Tanjiro just rolls his eyes and begins to leave, saying that if they want to come in and help, they should help. But frankly, the boy that's sitting there crying isn't going to be much of a help if he's going to continue to sob. And Nezuko begins to open her box and look at the two. And this actually immediately makes Zenitsu's eyes grow wide, and he immediately gets up, dashing toward Tanjiro, walking with him, saying that he shouldn't bring a little girl into the battlefield. But Tanjiro disagrees, that this so-called little girl, for one, is his sister, but is also a demon. And she's actually extremely strong, if you can't tell, at least not right now. But with that said, Zenitsu still disagrees that a woman should not be fighting in this, but Tanjiro says to basically shut up, that she wants to be fighting. In which Zenitsu looks at her as she opens the little door on her box, and she nods repeatedly, and it seems like Nezuko actually wants to help in terms of protecting her own brother. When they arrive in the forest, they actually do see a bunch of demon slayers on strings, in which they're cut off relatively easily, but it seems like these strings keep regenerating, in which Tanjiro decides to light his blades of chaos ablaze, and begins to slice this thread, but the flames travel all the way to the spiders, killing them as well. As he travels further and further, the demon slayers and all the strings begin to get stronger, but nothing that Tanjiro and Zenitsu and Inosuke cannot handle. He easily fends through this, and even with the headless demon that is on these strings, he just slices through them with Inosuke as if it was relative ease. Tanjiro is far outclassing these mediocre demons, and even comes across the woman that is doing all of this. He wraps her in the chains, but then sees that she begins to cry, as if she's welcoming death itself. He feels kind of bad. He doesn't want to actually kill her, but does want to bring her peace. So he decides to calm his body and relax himself, and not build up all that rage once again. This will be a good way for him to test this out. He calms down and slices through her neck, and the calm that he's feeling begins to overflow around her. It's as if he overrided the rage that he was feeling just to make her have a peaceful death, in which Tanjiro, it took a lot out of him, especially because of the way the blades of chaos are basically a reminder of that day that his family died. Yes, it is a way for him to quote-unquote save his sister, but if he had the blades before they died, he might have been able to help them. But the more and more he uses these so-called blades, it seems like they're just getting stronger. Every last bit of them, more and more. And he's even learned a new, well, you can call breathing style. It's still chaos breathing, but it's a new form. Chaos breathing, 10th form, elemental slash. And this is extremely powerful. It converts various things, I mean his flames that burn on the Chaos Blades, into this long-range like attack, and can even be used for short range if he wants a quick burst of damage or obviously critical hits. After defeating the woman that basically plays with strings, he begins searching for the main demon, using his blades to basically traverse the entirety of the forest until he gets separated from Inosuke and Zenitsu, forcing them to fight on their own, at least for the meantime, and he is confronted with the main demon by the name of Rui. Rui stands there, yelling at his sister as she runs off, in which Tanjiro throws his blade out, slicing her head off, saying that death is more peaceful than having family punish you. And Rui says that he disagrees, that she owed him, and that now she's gone, he'll have to pay the debts. He begins to shoot these odd-looking strings at Tanjiro, but in one slash with his left blade, he slices through them. Rui can feel the power coming off of his blades and takes a better look, and he begins to see something, a memory that isn't his. It's a memory of somebody that Muzan himself encountered, and he's using these blades. Muzan encountered him? What the hell is this guy? Tanjiro walks toward him as he wraps the blades around him, telling him not to hesitate. Rui slightly is able to break free and tries to use his blood demon art, but frankly, even that is not enough. Using his elemental slash, he slices not only through this string, or this blood-written string, he's actually able to slice through one of his arms, in which Rui can regenerate, but Rui is trying to find any way to defeat Tanjiro. Tanjiro decides to put his box down, and Rui questions what the hell is even in that. Nezuko, currently in the box sleeping, Tanjiro doesn't even answer the question, keeping his eyes on Rui as he goes forward. But Rui then shoots these strings once again, but doesn't necessarily aim at Tanjiro, missing and hitting the box, hurting Nezuko and stringing her up, in which Tanjiro is shocked to see this as he's pissed. He immediately attacks Rui, slicing off a leg, another leg, his arm, as Nezuko screams in pain and the blood drips from her body to the strings. She grips onto the strings and her eyes begin to grow wide and pissed. As Spartan rage begins to ignite in Tanjiro, it somehow ignites in Nezuko, creating and making this anomaly for Nezuko to basically find out what her blood demon art is, and she erupts in flames and sends flames right at Rui, scorching him as Tanjiro slices off his head to finish him off. Frankly, this is overkill. He already had the job done, but the fact that Rui hurt his sister pissed him off even more. He basically alone was able to kill Rui, and this would transcend him into the level of, his mentors are currently at. He helps Nezuko down, putting her back in the box and asking her to rest. Putting him back on his back, he walks back toward where Inosuke, or at least where he can smell the really bad smell of a boar, and he heads over, seeing that Inosuke is struggling with the father demon, in which he easily kills the father demon, and Inosuke is shocked to see this, but calling him his basically sidekick, and saying that Tanjiro did a great job. And Tanjiro just smiles slightly and finds this kind of entertaining as he goes to check on Zenitsu, seeing Zenitsu in a pretty bad spot, but holding it together somewhat. Some people do show up, a lot of people from the Hashira Mansion, and even Shinobu, who is more or less there just to help out, at least clean up, giving an anecdote to Zenitsu and saying that she will handle the rest. Tanjiro, before he did leave the site of Rui, injected him with that little needle he got, giving it to Tamayo's cat, and then heads off to the Hashira mansion, carrying basically a bloodied and battered Inosuke, who was somewhat moving and somehow was moving, even though he had really deep cuts in his legs and his back. He brings Inosuke back, and, well, the message of what Tanjiro did comes around really quickly, even before he arrives. The idea that Tanjiro was already able to defeat one of the 12 Kizuki, making him eligible for Hashira status, in which they question if they should give him Hashira status when he hasn't even been in this as, well, very long by any means. But they do bring up the Mist Hashira, the fact that he is a young prodigy, but they question if Tanjiro truly is a quote-unquote prodigy, and even if he is, how can they trust that he'll fully be on their side all the time? Tanjiro, hearing this from one of the buildings that he's in, questions why they would test his loyalty, and they say that a pledge to a god makes him vulnerable to attacks on the people that he cares about, in which Tanjiro disagrees, that no god that he knows would force him to kill someone that is good in this world, and frankly, he actually understands what Ares wants now. Ares and the rest of the gods just want a show, and these demons are a way to give them that, and they, Tanjiro and all of them included, are also a way to give them that show, the show of, you could say, a fight. This gladiator arena that they call Earth is nothing compared to their watchtower of Olympus. Tanjiro is mad about this, but realizes this to be reality, and he says that once the demons are exterminated, he doesn't care. He can give his soul to Ares, and he'll be happy with that, as long as his sister can live a normal life from then on out. After hearing this, they decide that it is for the best to give Tanjiro the status of the Chaos Hashira. Tanjiro thanks them for the hospitality, and they thank Tanjiro that he's taken on a heavy burden even at this short amount of time. He says that he'd do anything to make sure that his dear sister Nezuko is safe, in which they all agree and think that he's doing an amazing job. But with that said, they have a mission to attend to in the coming months. But for now, Tanjiro will be along here to help the new people that they have get trained up with Kanao and Aoi. Tanjiro does that for a while, being over a course of a couple months or so, going on some minor missions as well. Nothing too crazy, just some cleanup missions that he needs to do. But he does help Inosuke and Zenitsu get trained up in tip-top shape, telling them that they need to get on the level that he's at, and also Kanao, so that they can fight against these higher level demons, and that they won't have a problem sooner or later. Tanjiro does find pretty good benefits in all of this as well, learning more and more about his Blades of Chaos, and learning more about how to use them properly. He's already been using them pretty efficiently, but frankly, the more he uses them, it seems like the stronger it's getting. And it seems like his control over Spartan's Rage, the predecessor or the following person, or the person previous to him that wielded the Blades of Chaos, is getting more and more under control, at least for him. With all that done though, a mission is then brought upon Rengoku. Rengoku says that him and Tanjiro will head out, and Inosuke and Zenitsu ask if they can join, but Tanjiro refuses this, saying that there's no reason for them to join. Him and Rengoku will finish this up quickly. So they head off to the Mugen train, and when they arrive, there's some stuff Rengoku needs to handle, and says that Tanjiro can wait at the station while he handles it. During this waiting time of some sort, Tanjiro just waits and waits until this really fast demon comes running down the track, and he throws his Blades of Chaos at it and ties it up and keeps it there. As Rengoku arrives, he slices the head off and thanks Tanjiro for the help. Yeah, no problem. How did that thing even get away from you?
Oh, about that. That's a long story. Don't worry about that.
You're too careless. Stop being so careless, please. Rengoku smiles and laughs, saying that he wasn't being careless, he just kinda had a hostage. I see. And you weren't fast enough because why?
Hey, let's not go there, okay, Tanjiro? You don't have to do that.
Okay, whatever. Tanjiro and Rengoku then talk for a minute, actually getting some bentos, you could say, from somebody, and then heading on to the newly completely finished Muzhen train. When they head on to the train, they begin speaking about what to expect and what demon to expect. Tanjiro begins to smell around, not really smelling much, but he does get a tip when someone walks through to stamp his tickets. They come to stamp his tickets and he basically questions why they would want to do such a thing. So he decides, instead of letting his ticket be stamped, he would make it seem like it was already stamped in the first place, confusing the man, but he doesn't question it. Maybe he's going insane, maybe he's going crazy, and Rengoku questions why he would do that, and Tanjiro says that he has a bad feeling about what's about to happen. Rengoku soon passes out, and Tanjiro realizes what this so-called demon is doing. He heads out the window, meeting this demon by the name of Enmu. He confronts Enmu, telling him to just give up now, that he'll die by his blades anyways. Everything that's going to happen to him is inevitable. And Enmu says that why wouldn't he want a beautiful sleep? That he could have gave him the family that he wanted. Tanjiro says that the family he wanted is gone, and these blades are a reminder of that. He slices the head off of Enmu, but Enmu proceeds to just dissolve into the train because Enmu is the train. Tanjiro realizes this, going back into the train, and begins trying to wake up Rengoku, to no avail really, and knocks out the little people, or the little kids that are trying to tie themselves to Rengoku. He's able to basically subdue them for the moment, and hopes that Rengoku and his Hashira mentality is able to get himself out of the situation. He has really no way of waking him up, and even asks Nezuko to try to do so, headbutting him, but nothing really works. So Tanjiro decides that he'll have to go and kill this demon himself. He walks through every single cart, seeing that these tentacle-like beings begin to attack him. He spins his blades of chaos in this chaotic frenzy and begins to slice through one after another, and this just increases the number of attacks. These chaotic rampage attacks that he's doing gives him this ton of momentum. As he slices more and more through every single cart, he eventually reaches the front of the train at a point that his momentum carries over, slicing the front of the train completely in half. The blades of chaos are completely ignited as if they were on fire, and he looks to see that he actually hit the neck of Enmu himself, in which he shrugs. I didn't even know your neck was there. I guess I got lucky. Luck is on your side every so often, I guess. Tanjiro walks outside to see the dying body of Enmu, in which he refuses to die and says that he will kill Tanjiro. But Tanjiro just stabs him in the neck and takes some blood, as well the cat of Lady Tamayao begins to appear and takes it away. And Tanjiro kneels next to Enmu and says that you could say getting out of this alive is really not an option, and there's no way Tanjiro was going to lose a fight to somebody that feels nothing like part of the 12 Kizuki. As Tanjiro says this, he goes back to actually see Rengoku, in which Rengoku is escorting everybody off the train. As he does this though, someone remarks on what he says, or what he said earlier to Enmu. You know, He might not feel like one of the 12 Kizuki. Well, there's only about 6 of us now. Well, I guess one less, huh? But he might not feel like it. But I promise you, I will. Right there stands Upper 3 Demon Akaza himself. Rengoku pulls out his sword, and Tanjiro stares daggers into the demon, seeing that he is of another level, that this fight may be an extreme challenge. Rengoku tells him that they need to take this seriously and put all the training and fighting to use. Tanjiro nods and says that he's been having fun just messing around, at least in terms of these weak demons, but now it's something different. This guy, you can feel the power coming off of him. But as he remarks this, he begins to feel his body boil over with rage. The idea that he's clawing closer and closer to the inevitable battle with Muzan is making him enraged at the fact that this man is standing in his way. Or, he's not really a man, he's just a monster. Tanjiro remarks this to Akaza, but Akaza smiles, saying that he should be saying the same thing to the person that took a deal with the god of war himself. Tanjiro immediately is in front of Akaza, taking a slice at him. Akaza dashes away relatively easily, and Tanjiro's just feeling the waters at this point. He wants to see how strong this man currently is, and their fight is immaculate. Frankly, Rengoku can barely keep up, at least with the current state of the battle. He has to amp up his attacks as well. Akaza is able to block the Blades of Chaos, at least the strikes relatively, by just hitting the chains. He realizes that if he touches the blades, they will cut right through his hands like butter. Tanjiro then realizes what he's doing and adjusts to this promptly, swinging his blades even at a more, you could say, unpredictable manner, landing and slicing both of his arms off. He instantly regenerates them, but Rengoku is in front of him, striking at his neck, and Tanjiro strikes at the other side as well. He's able to slide out of the way with relatively some struggle. Tanjiro is keeping up with Akaza pretty well, and slicing off other limbs that he can obviously regenerate relatively quickly, but this is not good. Akaza doesn't want to deal with the hindrance of losing limbs every so often. It does distract him from the main fight, and Akaza even remarks that they could fight forever if he so chooses to. That Akaza, actually, if he changes Tanjiro into a demon, that so-called pact with the god of war doesn't even exist anymore. Tanjiro tells him to shut up and continues to batter the man, trying to kill him, and over again begins to strike at, obviously, Akaza. Rengoku tells him to not listen to Akaza and his spewing remarks, that the sun will be rising in no time and Akaza will either die here or be forced to run away because of his scared mentality of the sun. Tanjiro tells him that he already knows this, that his false promises don't mean anything to him, but Akaza says that these are not false promises. It's only really in relation to a mortal being, and a demon is not immortal. A demon isn't even alive anymore. That he would have broken the pact, and those silly blades of chaos, well, will not be binded to him anymore. It will have to be by choice. Akaza completely keeps on rambling over and over about this, and Tanjiro is still not listening, striking down Akaza, landing and slicing through his torso and going for his head. But Akaza is able to hit the side of the Blade of Chaos, bouncing it upwards, only skimming the top of his head, as he remarks that he got really close. But he looks up to see that his fun is about to be over. The sun is coming out, and frankly, he's not going to be able to get out so easily. So he tries and tries again to leave. Even Tanjiro wraps this blade around Akaza, making sure that he cannot leave, and he squeezes it as tight as possible, dragging Akaza and pinning him down. He uses his other blade to hold his own body in place, and Akaza uses this as a chance to strike Tanjiro in the chest, landing a blow so deep within his chest that there seems to be a hole missing within him. Tanjiro smiles and says he doesn't care, and cuts off Akaza's arm, and then basically still entraps him in, making it so that Akaza's body has to burn in the sunlight. Akaza feels the sunlight touch him, and he begins to burn away. And eventually, Akaza is dead. But the only problem with this is Tanjiro is losing an insane amount of blood. His body is shutting down, and it seems like he might as well die. He might die here as well. But just as he begins to think this, his body begins to erupt in flames. He turns around to see Nezuko standing right there, grabbing onto his arm, as his wound, his pretty deep wound, begins to heal. Nezuko somehow was able to unlock a new stage of her blood demon art by seeing her brother, her own blood, about to die. Well, it also might have something to do with his own pact with the god of war. His pact does involve Nezuko, and this might be what happens when he's connected with the Blades of Chaos, but also to Nezuko herself. Nezuko heals Tanjiro, but he is basically out of commission. Rengoku picks him up, and also Nezuko, in her box, and jumps off and begins to leave toward the Hashira mansion. But when Tanjiro seemingly awakens once again, he's in a very unknown place. A place he's never seen before, but he then hears a voice of somebody that isn't very familiar to him, but he speaks to him, saying that, unfortunately, he is dead. Tanjiro begins to panic, standing up, asking who the hell is speaking to him, and he responds, "My name is Hades. And it's simple, Mr. Tanjiro. Actually, we want you alive. Frankly, your death is kind of sad. But how about this? I'll even help you out. If you can climb out of hell itself, and you don't even need to beat me, you can climb out. Your pact is now gone, because, well, you were dead, of course. I'll even give you the means of escaping this hellhole. How about it? And then you can go help your friends, your sister. And you have no in-debt to me. I just frankly want to see the fight continue. And you're an entertaining specimen." Well, Tanjiro takes this as a challenge. The blood bath ahead of him is outrageous. Tanjiro slices through demons, orcs, monsters, anything that stands in his way, and even demigods themselves do not stand up to the Spartan's rage that he feels within the Blades of Chaos. Chaos is exactly what ensues in this race from hell. After days, what feels like even weeks, not sleeping and killing every single monster in sight, he climbs his way out of hell and stares Hades in his eyes. Hades tells him that a deal is a deal, and watching him scale hell was entertaining as hell. Tanjiro says that he doesn't have time for the jokes, in which Hades agrees. Hades allows him back onto Earth, but when Tanjiro arrives, it seems like everything is coming to its climax. Tanjiro watches over as the land burns and Muzan is fighting every single one of the Hashira. Muzan defeating one after another. It seems like the Hashira don't have a chance in this battle. Don't have a chance in defeating Muzan. That's until Tanjiro Kamado arrives on the field and stares into Muzan's soul. Tanjiro begins to speak, saying that he climbed from the depths of hell, broke a pact with the god of war, and wields the blades of chaos just to see Muzan burn to ashes. That's all he wants to see. And he would go through 15 layers of hell just to see that occur. Muzan is shocked, terrified. The fact that this mere mortal, non-demon person climbed through hell itself to get here. He died. Akaza sacrificed himself, killed him, made sure that he died so he wouldn't have to deal with the Tanjiro smiles as well. He grips harder into his chaos blades, so you didn't have to deal with the chaos Hashira. And that is a wrap for What If Tanjiro Had Chaos Breathing. I know it may seem like I'm leaving you on a cliffhanger. I'm really not, because let's be honest, we all know how this fight goes. I just thought this would be a cooler ending and a cool way to finish up What If Tanjiro Had Chaos Breathing. If you guys don't like it, I'm sorry. I mean, this is just kind of I try new things with my writing style, my narration style. So, but I hope y'all enjoyed it. I know it is missing a Muzan fight, and I know some of you are going to say, well, you skipped this arc, you skipped this arc. There's a lot of arcs I could have just skipped outright because of the situations that occurred during this one. But, yeah, I mean, I hope the mass majority of you enjoy it, and I hope y'all enjoyed it entirely, and I hope all of y'all have an amazing day. And also, sorry, before I leave, I hope y'all are enjoying the Tanjiro stuff, because we got more coming, and that's a promise, because I'm loving the Tanjiro what ifs, especially after this one. Alright, I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.